Max, here we are again.
That was pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
They're off to a great start, huh?
Yeah, I think so. Episode 2.
The Infected.
The Infected, yeah. And turns out what we were hoping for actually happened. So
yeah, we'll get into that.
We'll get into that. Yeah,
how are you doing today, huh?
I'm doing good. A little tired, but you know.
That's what happens when you have 3 kids and, you know, we do the dad thing and run around.
Yeah.
It's a weekend. It's Sunday. Sunday's the wind down day, and it's nice to wind down with some disgusting fungus.
Yep, that is definitely true. Well, you know, thanks for everybody for clicking this podcast for hopefully the first, second, or third time. If you guys listened to the second or the first episode and the second episode, thank you so much for coming back. Thanks for going to that Patreon page, helping support us making this content. We really appreciate it. Shout out to our Patreon producer,
Night Rider 169.
Yes,
who sponsored the whole month.
Yeah, he's the man. Thank you so much. Also, we want to thank Erin at Blondie Sheep. She caught a mistake that we made on the last episode.
A little misstep.
I mentioned, that one of the play mechanics in the Last of Us video game, you could actually play as Ellie. You would switch to Ellie, if there was a spot that Joel couldn't get to because of the spore stuff, yada yada. Turns out that doesn't happen. But it's been a long time since I played that game.
To be exact, it was that when you can't play with Joel during when he's hurt in the winter, you use Ellie.
Yeah, that's what you're supposed. That's what you do in the game. What I said was there's parts in the game that you couldn't go to, and because Joel's mask got broken or something, so then you would play as Ellie.
Yeah,
and I hadn't replayed the game in a while. You do not take over as Ellie. I might be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm actually going to be playing through the game as we're watching the show to refresh my memory.
Fresh download after.
Yeah, fresh download. There could be. I think there might be parts, if I remember correctly, because that maybe she just goes into a place for you and you just sit around and wait for her to open a door and kind of stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that's not going to matter because spores are out. We've already covered that in the last episode.
Yeah.
So spores are out. So let's.
But great catch by Blondie Sheep Aaron. I mean, this is one of the reasons we love the interaction with people who listen to the podcast, whether it's through Twitter or our Patreon. We love the feedback and we love to communicate with everybody who's partaking in this podcast. Excellent.
Yeah. So,
love to hear from everybody else. Love it. It's great.
Trying to build a community. And so, if you guys catch stuff that we don't catch, or, if we make a mistake, please message us. Let us know. So that way, the only way the show gets better is with your support and your feedback. And, hopefully we all grow together.
Awesome.
So let's, before we get into the actual, what happens in the show and stuff, let's, before we can get spoiler alerts.
The recap. Full
recap stuff. Let's, Max, what'd you feel about this episode?
Right off the bat, if every episode is going to have phenomenal soft openings like this, I'm going to be hooked because I'm a big fan of soft openings like that they've been doing. And the last 2 have been spot on. And it was one of my requests that they show us. They didn't quite show us Patient Zero, but we get a little bit more backfill of how everything unfolded in that September period in September in 2003 where when the infection kind of started to spread. So, but as a follow-up to the first episode, which was like a movie, I said what was it, 90 minutes? This one was a little shorter, but there was a lot of great content in here. We got to see our first interaction with a prominent infective character from the games.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. But awesome episode. I only, again, I wish we could just binge through because I want to watch episode 3 already.
Right. Yeah. But then what would we do with our time? How it So
I'll catch up on all those Star Wars that I'm missing out on. That you're killing me about.
Yeah, let's not talk about that just yet because it just bums me out. You bum me out. I like this episode. It didn't have that oomph as the first episode did because we've kind of seen this world a little bit, so we kind of have a general idea where it's going and stuff. But I liked it. I mean, it gave us a lot. gave us some questions, gave us a lot of answers. It's very subtly throughout the episode, which was kind of cool.
Yeah.
But, it does what it's supposed to do, is keep you entertained for that, 50 minutes and then make you want to come back and watch some more. So it's doing its job. So I liked this episode. It wasn't as powerful as the first episode. For some things, other things, some things are heartbreaking, other things that happened in this episode. But overall, I think it was good.
You know how some shows are like slow burns, especially in the beginning? This is not that. There's plenty of things going on in the first 2 episodes so far.
Yeah, a lot of stuff happens.
Yeah.
All right, so let's you've been warned. We're going to head into some spoiler territory. If you haven't seen this episode yet, this is the time you're going to turn it off, go watch the episode, and then once you've seen it, come back in, and but you've been warned. Here we go.
Yeah.
So we were right. What we wanted to happen actually happened. So it looks like what they're going to be doing moving forward is every episode's going to start with a flashback. And so hopefully. Well, I feel like you've done it the first episode, you're going to do it in the second episode. Hopefully they continue that trend. And so it starts off, we get to see, you did all the research on this.
Yeah, it's Indonesia,
right,
and it's September 24th. Okay, a couple of days before Joel's birthday, and his life gets turned upside down.
Right.
We're in a restaurant, people having lunch, and basically like the military police come in, talk to the maitre d', I would say, right? You want to call that? And they point out there's a woman, elderly woman, looks like she's having lunch by herself.
Yeah.
And they walk over to her and pretty much time to go, right?
Right.
Then you see her in the car, a military guy next to her, someone driving, and you could see the panic in her face, like, what did I do wrong?
Yeah,
kind of thing, right?
Yeah,
like,
she thinks that she did something wrong. She thinks she's being arrested. Something bad's going to happen to her. Yeah, yes. And,
they're like, no, you didn't do anything wrong. And then she's like, maybe you got the wrong person. And the guy basically gives her a quick little resume, like, you're Dr. Ibu Retna, professor of mycology at the University of Indonesia. So obviously they know exactly who you are. They came for her specifically. Fast forward, she's in they go to a facility, I guess in the university, and they want her to look at a slide, a specimen through what do they call those things? A microscope, right?
Yeah.
And the woman, there's a woman there who starts to tell her about it, and the military guy is like, I'll call him the general, just call him general, right?
Sure, why not?
He's like, no, don't tell her anything. I want her to just look at it and dissect it, look at it and give her own professional opinion.
Yeah.
And she immediately looks at it, and you see they do such a great job in this show. Like, it's a zoom in view, and all you kind of see is her eyes, and her eyes tell you everything. Like, she looks at it and she's like, already something's off on there. She pulls back and she's like, why did you use chlorozole for this? She identified it was a cordyceps right away. She's like, why did you use chlorozole on this, right? And
wait, hold on. Are you using all of your fungus knowledge from the Netflix show that you watched?
Yes, sir. I'm telling you, got to watch that thing. It's freaking crazy.
It's on my list.
It is crazy. We're gonna get into some fungus in this one. So they're like, oh, we got it from a human specimen. That's why we had to use it. And she's like, right off the bat, she's like, that's not in these exact words, but it's impossible.
Can't survive in human beings.
Cordyceps can't survive in human beings.
Right.
And then the guy's face kind of like changes right there too. Great acting by these, that's what makes sometimes great shows. It's like not even an important character, but their scenes are still powerful. Right?
Yeah. No, it's very good, very powerful.
Yeah.
Then the next scene, she gets brought into a coroner's room or something.
Yeah,
where there's a dead body there.
Hazmated all up pretty much, right?
Yeah, and she goes and she examines a body, and the guy, the general, tells her to go, look at the ankle, the bottom of the leg or something.
Yeah, that's where you see a bite.
Yep, she cuts open the bite, and
gross.
then you see what looks like, obviously, because we've already seen the first episode, it looks like there's a little bit of fungus in there.
Yep.
So she's kind of, she's got this look of, what is happening here.
Yeah, she identifies it as a human bite, and then the general confirms,
right?
Yep, it's a bite.
Right. And then she gets like some, some tweezers.
Tweezers.
Decides that she's going to go look inside the mouth.
Ugh.
And then it's pretty gross.
Yeah.
She pulls out a bunch of fungus right there.
Yeah, and she immediately sees it moving and she drops it and she's like, beeline, let's get out of here.
Yep.
So now they cut that scene and she's sitting on the couch. General's across from her. She gets a little tea, and now she's doing her little fact-finding questionnaire to him to kind of like find out, let's see, patient zero. He tells her that there was a woman who was bit in a flour and grain factory, and she attacked 4 people, and she bit 3 of them, right?
Right.
And then the police came, and she was violent. They had to put her down. And then she asks, what about the 3 people that were bit? And he goes, well, we took them in for observation. They started acting crazy, and basically we had to execute them.
Yeah, due to protocol, they had to execute them.
Yeah, execute them.
Right. But then she asked, well, you know, where's patient zero? Like, how did she get bit? They don't know.
They don't know.
Anybody else missing? And then he says, what, throws out a number 14?
14 people were missing from the factory.
Yeah.
And at that moment, the actress, the woman who plays this professor, she's holding the teacup, tea in her hand, and she starts to shake. She puts the tea down, and her mood, granny mood, you know, her soft mood completely changes immediately.
Right.
She's like now worried, like 14 people, right? And then the general goes, we brought you here because we need you to help us make a vaccine or some kind of medicine to fight this.
Right.
And then she gives him a look and she's like, listen to me right now carefully. She says, pretty much, I've done this my whole life. There is no vaccine. There is no medicine we can make. Right? And the general's face now drops again. Great acting in this scene by these 2 characters, right?
Yeah.
And the whole scene, they're speaking in their native tongue, so there's subtitles. It's still great, right? And then he goes, so what the hell do we do? And
she says one word.
One word. Bomb.
Bomb. She tells the guy that the only way to hopefully stop this from spreading is to bomb the entire city.
Yeah.
And that she wants to go home.
Yep.
Take me home. I want to be with my family right now. She's got tears in her eyes. She knows
it's not good.
It's not good. This is the end.
Remember
this
last
is the end
episode,
of civilization.
The other doctor was like, it's game over. She's already ran the math, right?
Right.
14 people missing plus patient zero. You have to assume that's 15 people. If they each bite 3 people, it's the numbers grow exponentially. It's like bomb us to kingdom come to save the rest of the world. Like, great scene. I want to know, like, do you like quickly call every other nation and say, we got a situation here, or we effed up, or you just start bombing, or what do you do, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess you got to talk to the other nations for sure. You got to figure out if they're having the same issues. If they are having the same issues, do they have any, like, you know, what is their response to it? Do they have a protocol over there? How are they dealing with it?
Yeah, we'll do that on Wednesday on our deep dive, because I have more on this.
Yeah.
On this, you know,
we still don't know if the virus actually started there.
Yeah,
this is just their version. I mean, for the next episode, it could start off at a different country or a different location, and then we can see how it starts over there.
Yeah, I want to say, we got to look back at the previous episode. They did mention something about a country in Asia. I don't know if it was Indonesia in the first episode. We'll go back and look, and then we'll bring it back in the in whether it's true or not. We'll bring it back in on the Wednesday, the deep dive into the episode. So now we get our intro, awesome intro, and the next scene. Great aesthetics. You see Ellie.
Yeah, now we're back into the present
time.
So now we're seeing the aftermath of
how
Ellie,
episode 1 ended.
Yeah, of Ellie, Joel, and Tess. Yeah. Now it's like, I guess it's the next day.
Yeah.
Ellie's waking up, and then she wakes up, and the first thing she sees is Joel and Tess, guns pointed at her.
But even before you get there, like, I love the way they did this. They had her, like, she's laying down on a patch of grass. You know, the sun is beaming down, you know, quote unquote, the savior of the world, possibly, right? It's the way the show is doing, because our I don't want to say our villain, you know, a major variable of this show is fungus, which is very nature, right? It's a part of nature. They show you in a patch of grass, so you're assuming she's out there sleeping outside, and it's peaceful. The sun is shining down, and then as she wakes up, they pan out, and you see they're inside of a building held up, and it just shows you how the world has just gone overgrown so much that vegetation is pretty much everywhere. I thought aesthetically it was a great. You know, a great scene.
It's a
great
beautiful
scene. Like, wow. You think she's outside, but they're really inside. And like you said, they got guns on her. It looked like they were taking shifts who sleeps right?
No, it did not. It looked like
they
they
both
were
were all awake, right?
What I'm picturing is that Ellie fell asleep and Tess and Joel are having a conversation on what do we do with the person that's in front of us.
Yeah.
That's, clearly infected. And so now now we get to see them kind of get, try to let that sink in, but then also come to reality, this is, what are we going to do with this person? We have to figure out, are we going to take her? She's really, remember, their main goal is to get
a battery,
to get Tommy, to get a truck, not even a battery anymore, just to get a truck that's fully fueled, supplies ready to go. And that's really their only, way of getting that is to take her from point A to point B. So now they have to, they have to come to grasp with it. Yeah. Can't even say it.
That works.
Yeah. And
I think Tess is starting to realize how important, because they kind of grill her again, right?
Yeah, they grill her again, but Joel's not having any of it.
Not
Joel's
having none of this.
Let's just go back. We're done with this. I don't want to be around her, even though she's trying to get to her brother, which I thought that was kind of weird because, his main focus is to get to his brother. And now it's kind of like, oh, I don't want to be with this girl. She's infected, blah, blah, whatever. But Tess is the one.
Self-preservation.
But Tess is the one that's like, no, let's finish this. Let's let's take her from there, point A to point B. Let's get the truck. Let's get your brother. I thought that was kind of interesting where he was the first one to kind of go, no. But,
And then they had a great scene there where after the whole bathroom situation, I want to talk about that I don't know if we talk about it now or Wednesday, where he throws her a magazine.
We don't need to talk about the bathroom scene.
Dude, I'm telling you right now, me personally, I can handle a lot. I think I can do pretty well in an apocalyptic scenario, my to survive. But I'll tell you right now, I can't handle stuff like that. I like my double ply. I can't deal with. She gave a rough magazine that's kind of dirty.
No, it wasn't. It was like that. It's not even rough. I was actually thinking because I can't believe we're doing this. I can't believe we're talking about this.
I know, but
it's that semi-gloss paper from a magazine.
Okay.
There's no. Okay, stop. We're moving on. We're done.
But I'm telling you, in apocalyptic world, I need lotion. I need toiletries. I need good toothpaste. I can't do it without that kind of stuff. I'm telling you right now. That's just me. Anyway.
All right.
Moving forward. But they have a great scene where Ellie's on one side, Joel's on the other side.
With Tess?
And Tess is in the middle.
Oh, she goes in the middle. Yeah,
and she's basically connecting the two of them to continue this mission because, Joel does, like you said, Joel doesn't want anything to do with this, but Tess is there as the mediator to kind of, we know that the story is really about Joel and Ellie's journey. So she's putting this journey together right there in that scene. And I thought it was great how they had them physically placed in the episode where, Tess is in the middle, putting these two people together.
Well,
great scene.
That's kind of how this episode goes the entire way.
The entire way.
Yeah. All right. So they decide to move on with their journey. Let's not forget about the whole, they're eating their lunch before they go kind of thing.
Wednesday we got a lot of good stuff to go into.
She's eating a turkey sandwich that
chicken.
That
She's
Marlene,
chicken.
that Marlene's packed for her.
Yeah,
and they're eating jerky.
Oh man,
who knows what kind of jerky that actually is? It could be like rat jerky. So anyway, so they decide they're gonna take her to the Fireflies. So they leave, and then you get this next scene, which is them walking on top of a freeway.
Yeah,
and I like this scene so much, not only because, you get to see the background, the scenery and everything like that, but this is the first time you actually get clarification in the show that there are no spores.
Yeah.
Ellie mentions something how, I believe it's from Ellie, that she's mentioned she talks about the spores, stories that she's heard out in the world. And
they're debunking them.
Yeah. And Tess is that's not true. That's not, there's no spores. So now we talked about the last episode. You bummed me out because you told me there are no spores, and I was thinking of some mechanics that's not actually in the game. But now we know that's not going to happen. Yeah. She does bring up some other things about some other monsters and stuff that happens out in the world. Then you kind of see their faces kind of go, well, those are kind of true.
Those kind of true, yeah.
But they decide on this journey that they're trying to get to the Massachusetts State House, right?
Yep.
And so that's their goal. So I guess there's two paths. One path is going to be the long way, which is safer, and one path is the shorter way that's more dangerous.
Yeah.
They decide to take the long way, but they want to scout the scene out first. So now you get to go. Now they go into, I forget the name of the hotel.
We'll catch it.
Yeah, we'll catch it in the next one. So they go into a hotel. You get to see this hotel. It's been, it's flooded. There's, she kind of plays a goofball a little bit in there. You kind of see her kid, her inner kid stuff.
Once again, I can't deal with that either. I'm not going into that water. Maybe I'm not fit for the apocalypse. I'm not walking in that water, man. I'm sorry. Keep going.
Well, they know more than we do. Maybe they just know there's no way that there's any kind of...
The water was green, man.
Hey, that's algae.
Again, I'm not walking in there.
All right. So, in the game, they be hopping around doing some stuff. They go through it anyways. Okay, blah, blah, blah. So she sees a skeleton. You get to see her inner kid and stuff like that. She's in wonder of this place because she's been in quarantine. Never been outside. She's never been past the wall. So she's just admiring every single thing that she sees around her, loving every single aspect of it, while Joel and Tess are just this is kind of routine for them. Yeah. Like they've been to this place before. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to get up to the top of the hotel so they can scout the long journey. Yeah. What do you got?
Also, great scene there when she's messing around with the
You gotta raise your hand on a podcast.
We're not recording yet, but great scene there. She's messing with the bellhop when the skeleton comes out. Joel comes over to like give her a hand, and he initially grabs her, pulls her up, like but then he's kind of like lets her go, like she got the cheese touch,
oh,
yeah, what the hell am I touching?
I don't want to get the cooties.
Yeah,
kind of like that kind of thing.
Great scene.
Yeah, so. They get all the way to the top of the hotel, and the path is kind of blocked off. So now you get separation. This is going to be the first time since the apartment complex that Joel and Ellie are going to be left together. Because Tess has got to climb through some rubble to get around to the other side. And they have a brief conversation.
She's asking a lot of questions.
Well, they're trying to make small talk. She's flipping a knife around, and somehow he's just like, "Ooh, how'd you learn how to do that?" Where it's kind of like, dude, she's just throwing something around. Like, it's... Not like she went to like some kind of...
Well, I think it's part of it is Joel, his real interaction with someone that age was his daughter, and she was pretty much, almost an opposite of what Ellie is, right? Ellie is playing with a knife. Daughter looked at the knife in the first episode and kind of put it down. Right. And his daughter, was in music, a typical teenager, music, soccer, that kind of thing. Right. But Ellie is obviously, it's a different world, so she's a different person. So it's kind of like he's expecting her maybe to be playing with Barbie dolls and stuff, but she's playing with a knife.
Okay.
That's how I look at it. Like he's kind of being like he's a little naive to the fact that this is a 14-year-old girl who's grown up in a post-apocalyptic world.
Sure.
This is what she could have a knife.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, they make some small talk, and then finally Tess opens up the door, and she's got this look on her face like there's trouble. There's a trouble afoot.
Yeah.
And he's kind of like, well, what is it? And like, well, let me show you. And then this is the first time now we're going to see, in my opinion, the replacement of the spores, which is kind of the fungus network. Is that what we're calling it?
Well, in the science world, they call it the Wood Wide Web. It's basically, you got to watch the Netflix thing, right?
Oh my God. Dude.
Like pretty much, I don't want to say all trees, but pretty much all trees, trees are codependent with I guess you would say certain fungus, right?
Right.
The fungus create an underground kind of like network between thousands and thousands of trees pretty much all over the world. And the fungus pass nutrients between themselves and the trees benefit through that. So it's a giant like network of fungus that kind of helps support the woods and the forest. It's very interesting. And there's been some studies. I remember one study there, like they mapped out the Wood Wide Web to like 70 countries and like thousands and thousands of trees. It's like a world within a world. It's nuts. So they're introducing this to the show, and it's going to make it. It's going to be a very cool variable, as we're going to see later on in the episode.
Yeah, we see it later on. But it's so. Going off of what you just said, so they describe it as, so if, we'll say an infected person dies in one area,
or you touch, or you interact with it.
You interact with it, or you step on another piece of fungus or something like that. Clear across town, or a certain distance, there could be a pack or swarm of infected that will know where you're at and start coming at you. So this is kind of a different take, I guess, on the spore stuff. Yeah. It's a replacement for the spores. Obviously, it's not.
It's a very dangerous variable, though.
Yeah,
for sure.
You know what? I kind of want to see where it goes.
Yeah.
We see a bunch of infected on the ground. They talk about the network. So they decide now that they can't take the long way. We got to take the short way. So now they're going to end up going to Bostonian Museum.
Yep.
Okay. And so in the front of it, they see all these
like dried up
fungus. Are we calling them fungus vines? What are we calling these things?
Yeah, that works.
Okay, fine. So there's dried up fungus vines. You see Joel kind of like breaks a couple of them, says it's dried up.
Yeah.
All right, we're good to go. Maybe we should have went this way the entire time. Of course, that's not the way it's going to happen because it's a show. They go inside. They find a person who's been slashed up.
Ellie finds it.
Ellie finds a person who's been slashed up, kind of like Freddy Krueger style.
Yeah.
And so this is awesome because this is going to introduce us to
like I mentioned earlier.
Yeah, it's going to introduce us to an element of the infected fungus people called the clickers.
Yeah.
And so the clickers, they can't see. So they rely on their hunting. They hunt by sound.
Yeah.
And so it brings us to a
really cool character in
cool,
the video games that they call the clickers. In the episode, they haven't named them in the episode yet, but for anybody who's played the game, they know what they are. But for those who haven't, that's what they refer to as a clicker. So moving forward, we're going to call them the clickers throughout this episode, even though in the show they didn't really quite mention their names.
Yeah.
Just for a reference point, everybody knows what we're talking about. So now they're walking up, to try not to make a sound, because like you said, they can't see, but they can hear pretty well.
Yeah.
And
do they rely on vibration also?
Yeah, well, that's sound. Sound is vibration. That's what sound is.
I mean,
not to be too scientifically technical, but anyway, so we're walking.
Did you just do that to me, dude? Seriously, bro?
You can edit that out.
No, I'm not editing that out.
So they walk through a doorway, and typical like a classic video game, right? It collapses behind us, and guess what? You can't go that way anymore.
Yep,
it's perfect too. It's the sound that obviously is going to attract if there's anything in the building. Now they know there's something going on.
Yeah, it alerts 2 clickers.
Yeah.
And this scene is frustrating on so many levels because, you can pretty much, I feel like they know that there's only 2. They can't see anything. You could line up your guns and kind of just go for the head, and Joel, this is obviously not their first encounters with these characters, with these, fungus villain clicker guys or whatever. It was kind of a weird scene that when he first decides to initially shoot at one of these things, it's for the gut, and it creates all this chaos where they could have just lined up the shot and went bam, 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 have a nice day, and just kind of go for it.
I totally agree with that. But
it was weird.
I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. There are not too many firing ranges they can go and practice in the Fedra QC zone. Yeah, because when they're shooting, she's missing and Tess is missing, and it's like they're not very good. They're not snipers at this point.
I understand it's a terrifying moment. I feel the way that those 2 characters acted would have been their first encounter with these characters, with the clickers.
Excellent point.
But they obviously know what the clickers are. They've experienced. I feel like they've experienced them before.
Yep.
I feel like they would have held it, they would have handled it a little bit differently.
Yeah.
I've said my piece. We can move on.
No, you're completely right. But it's a great, we go through a whole scene now where, the 2 clickers are attacking them.
Yeah, they get separated.
They're separated. Joel is on one end, Tess and Ellie are on another, and you get to a point where Joel comes around, sees Ellie alone.
Right.
We don't see Tess; she's off camera, and Joel goes and to get Ellie out. Why am I messing up these names? Like
you're good. It's fine. People will be all right with it.
He's trying to get Ellie out, and of all people, Joel steps on some glass, and
I don't think that was Joel. That was Ellie.
No, it was Joel. Joel crunched some glass.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah, and then the clicker jumps over like a display.
You're right.
And he's on both of them. And you get a great look. And even before then, when when Joel was alone, they had a nice view zoom up of the clickers. They're disgusting and beautiful at the same time. Like the fungus is obviously over their eyes and part of their head.
Yeah.
That part is like really beautiful. It's like some nice colors. It's a really nice piece of fungus, right? And then everything below there, I'm telling you, Netflix got me on some fungus. You got to see it, man. There's a guy, he makes hats out of fungus. It's phenomenal. Anyway. Anyway, but everything below the fungus is kind of disgusting.
Sure.
So it's a duality here, right?
Right.
but anyway, you see that clicker, and he's drooling on him. They're fighting, and Joel fights him off, shoots him, and then finally people realize, let's hit him in the head, right? Shoots him in the head, kills that one, and the other one comes out of nowhere. Right?
There was another scene before that when you pointed out where it's kind of like, once again, I feel like they should know these kinds of things. But when he's trying to change his bullets out of his six-shooter, his revolver, you could have just took those, the shells and threw them in one direction, and
go
then
the
just
other.
went. But I guess that's just because we play a lot of video games, so we would know. We watch a lot of movies. But I feel like there was other movies about zombies and stuff. I'm sorry, I'm stuck on it. Let's just keep going.
Yeah, do a little solid snake, throw something, and then
the
go
scene
somewhere
itself
else.
was scary. It had a lot of tension and stuff. But it's whenever characters in movies and TV shows and stuff like that do something that for me is a little questionable.
Yeah,
or I feel like they should know certain things, or like. It just kind of sticks with me and bugs me. So I apologize if I'm sticking on this a little too much.
It's all good.
Let's move on.
So now the second clicker comes out, and he's trying to shoot her, and then Tess comes and
she figured out how to aim. She was like
she
hiding
hits him in the ear with like a battle axe. A battle axe from the Bostonian, from 1776.
Yeah.
Right. Hits him in the eye and then shoots him, and then that's the end of that, right?
Yeah. It was like there was a lot of tension in that scene. It was
good action though.
It was good action.
That was good. Post-apocalyptic action there. So now they're getting out. They're on the roof of the museum.
And the whole reason for that was to just climb from one building to the next building.
Yes,
by the way,
because so they can avoid going down ground level and messing with the network of fungus down there. Right.
Right.
So now at this point they go through a window. Tess is a little hurt. She twisted her ankle, she says, right? And you can kind of see her character's already changing in tone from this point. Like, Joel tells Ellie to cross like this wooden plank bridge to get to the next building.
Right.
And, he says a great line about, it's not scary, and she's like, inside was scary, this is wood, and she just crosses it. Again, I don't want to say she's getting points in Joel's book, but she's showing Joel that she's maybe not who he thinks she is, right? Like, she's not a typical 14-year-old who's scared of every little thing and can't do something like cross a bridge across two buildings, right?
Right.
And then while Joel is wrapping Tess's ankle, you see Tess looking at Joel kind of like, they have a nice little moment where he's wrapping and she's looking at like, wow, this guy actually like really cares for me. He's taking care of me. He's doing it great. And then that lasts for like a split second on camera. You see her looking at him with an endearing look, and then she's like, I got it, I could take care of it. And then Joel being Joel, negative Nancy's talking about, we should go back, whatever he's doing, and she's like, can we just have like one positive thing for a moment?
Can we just have one win?
One win.
That's
exactly what she said.
One win, yeah.
Can we have one win? And she basically banishes him, like, go with Ellie and go over there,
I'll
right?
finish this up here.
I'll finish this up here. And then he goes across. Ellie is looking out, and you could see the Massachusetts State House with the gold dome in the background.
Right.
And they have a nice little moment there where, again, he says something about the view, in terms of, it's a long. I don't know exactly what he says. We'll find it out on Wednesday.
Doesn't she say something about the view?
No, he says something negative about it, about the fear or then she's like, yeah, but you can't deny it's a great view. That's her line. Yeah,
he said something like about like, how do you like the trip so far or something, right?
Yeah, something, and then, but she's like, she's still finding a positive in the view because, again, she hasn't been outside of the QC zone.
Yeah.
So, and it is again, just like in the beginning of the episode, it's a lot of vegetation. It is kind of beautiful.
There's
a lot
something
of
about
greenery.
a post-apocalyptic, overgrown city that's crumbling. It just looks so beautiful.
You know what we forgot about? We see the city is crumbled up because they have craters. And they mentioned it. They mentioned that they were bombing to kind of resolve. So it wasn't only Indonesia who thought about bombing places, right?
Yeah,
they obviously bombed the major cities to control the population.
And Tess clarifies the bombing, or she Because that was kind of their way of slowing down the infection, was to bomb the cities and stuff. Yeah,
because one thing we know in all zombie apocalyptic things, everything burns and shoot it in the head, right? So we dealt with shooting in the head and then burning bombs. That's what works. So there is some beauty in the landscape, right? So now fast forward, they get to the state house, and they're expecting, a Fedra checkpoint at least, right? Because this is quote unquote one of their main bases in the area, and there's nobody, wherever they're rendezvousing. You still would, even if it's not their main base. Let's say it's their rendezvous point. You would expect like someone to kind of like greet you, like a sentry, like who goes there, kind of thing, right?
Wait, no, I thought that was the meeting place for the Fireflies.
For the Fireflies. I meant, did I say Fedra?
You said Fedra.
Okay, Fireflies. Sorry,
I'm leaving it in, man. We're gonna leave it. I'm not even gonna edit it.
So Fireflies, you think you would see, somebody greet you there. Nobody's there. There's a truck. Joel goes and investigates, sees some blood, opens the truck. There's nothing inside. Nobody's there.
Bunch of blood inside, though.
Bunch of blood inside.
Yeah.
I think Ellie notices blood going in, so they all pull their guns out, walk in carefully.
No.
Right?
Tess just kind of just barges in. She just goes for it. Like,
yeah.
It looks like Joel is ready to have a conversation with Ellie, with Tess and Ellie about like, what are we going to do? And Tess just goes gung-ho inside.
Yes.
And this is now you kind of see maybe
an urgency,
some panic in her. And then Ellie puts it together that Tess has been infected.
Yeah, did you notice? I noticed that too. Not notice it, but it's interesting how Joel, who's been with Tess, didn't recognize her mood swing or things like that. And it's Ellie who picked that up, that, oh, she's infected. Right? Yeah. You would have thought, Tess's partner, quote unquote, Mission and, romantically would have picked that up.
Yeah.
And he didn't, right? And he has like a dumbfounded look, like, oh no, are you serious, kind of thing. And then she shows the horrible bite mark that happened obviously off camera that we didn't see when they were in the museum.
Right.
And then she goes into a nice little monologue. She pulls Ellie's arm, shows that it's already healing again. It's not like Ellie's bite. Ellie also got bit while she was in the museum.
Right, we forgot about that.
Yeah, Ellie's bite doesn't look like hers. Hers is already starting to it looks like it's lifted. Yeah. Fungus is already in there. It's gross, pretty much again.
Yeah.
And Ellie's is not.
Was Ellie's a bite or was it a scratch?
It looked like a scratch to me, but she mentioned like if anybody was to get,
should have been her. If anyone was going to get bit or scratched or,
Because to me it looked like a scratch too, but I guess we're assuming it's some kind of a bite. I don't know. It looked like a scratch too, I agree. But her mark is not it doesn't look as infected as Tess's immediately. Tess's look is pretty gross. So she does her whole spiel about Ellie is real hope. It's tangible. You can see it. It's not like, there was a scene earlier where Joel says when they were in the beginning talking with about
Fireflies,
the Fireflies and their hope and the scientists. And he's like, we've heard this before.
Right.
Tess here is telling her, no, this is different.
This is real. Not rumor. We can see this.
We can see this. This is physical. It's tangible. She's right here.
Right.
So and it's like, bring her to Bill and Frank. They had mentioned Bill and Frank in the last episode with the code, right? Ellie broke that up. Who's Bill and Frank?
All she saw was a B and an F.
I know. How did hell?
Unless there's another part of that page piece paper that I didn't see, that I didn't catch, but I swear it was just a B/F.
And she's like, "Who's Bill and Frank? Really?" Anyway, so and Tess drops that great line. It's one of the taglines of the show: "Save who you can save." Right? Because she for once has hope, and she says all the horrible things we did, which I hope they show us in some flashbacks, some of these horrible things.
Yeah.
But the sicko in me, right? But she's like, you can reset everything, because she could be really the key,
right.
She doesn't even like task him to bring her all the way out west. She just says, give her to Bill and Frank, they'll handle it.
You just got to get her there.
Just get her there. They'll handle it and convince them to handle it, right? And then while they're having this conversation, one of the people who were shot, one of the Fireflies who had an internal beef, that Joel said that maybe some of them got infected and it became a firefight
Yeah, we forgot to talk about what they saw when they actually got into.
Yeah, we just jumped into that. So they saw it was like a circle
of dead bodies and stuff. And some
right?
of them clearly looked infected, other ones didn't. And so Joel came to the conclusion that the infected ones started fighting the uninfected ones.
Yeah.
And they just killed each other.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's bodies like literally all around in a circle, and one of them kind of reanimates, and Joel shoots him, and then we get this. Yeah, we actually see the fungus kind of coming up off. Was it his hand, or
it looked like it came up onto his hand, and then we get to see the fungus. What are you calling it? I'm calling it the fungus network. What are you calling it?
Oh, the Wood Wide Web. www Wood Wide Web.
So now we get to see it in action. So the first group, of
the long way, where they were just laid out a ton.
Yeah, you saw a ton of those zombie infected fungus people. They were all laying there, kind of like rolling with each other, trying to avoid the sun or the clouds or something. It was kind of weird. Yeah. But now they get the call. They get the
animated up.
Yeah, they get so now they know where they're at. So now they're running and as a herd. Yeah. Running to the
state house.
To the state house to get some food. I guess.
To spread the infection.
To spread the infection, yeah.
Spread the network, right?
So now you get to see some really cool, a questionable moment, in my opinion, on how gross this show's going to go. I guess would be the best way to say it.
Yep.
So obviously, we see Tess decides that she's going to sacrifice herself for the greater good. Yeah. And that she just starts, knocking over all like these gasoline barrels and stuff. Yep. So
Some grenades.
Her mission is she's going to blow the place up so that way that the fungus can't follow.
Everything burns.
So, but she's got, as we see in many movies, in many post-apocalyptic stuff, whenever someone has got to light a fire, they've got a Zippo that for some reason they didn't fill up before they went on their journey. So they have to spark it like 1,000 times before it actually works. So Ellie and Joel, they run off. Yeah. Meanwhile, you have Tess there, just spark. And then you see a bunch of infected people running through. One of them notices her, and we get to see one of the grossest things that we hopefully will see for the rest of the show. Yeah. And it's also very questionable on why she would allow this to happen. So maybe...
Froze?
No, maybe it's maybe a theory is that the fungus is already kind of taking over. Yeah. But it hasn't fully taken over her arm yet. Yeah. So that's why she's still able to...
twitching that arm in that scene when she was giving her monologue.
It's a weird executed scene. Because you would think that she would lose control of the arms first before... But maybe judging by where the bite is, or where it's infected, I don't know. Why she would allow a makeout scene with an infected person for a fungus to travel from mouth to mouth.
They didn't have makeout. She just allowed him
She opened up her mouth, as far as I remember, and allowed this to happen. Yeah. She doesn't turn her head. It was very weird.
But while she's getting, violated by this fungus in her mouth, she's still...
she's still trying to spark the everlasting.
Yeah, but listen, she had to do it that way because earlier we saw her aim is horrible. She couldn't take her gun out and shoot a grenade. She would have missed it.
So her weapon is tongue? What did you just say to me? What?
The only thing she had was the Zippo lighter.
She could have hit around the corner and still try to do that stuff.
Or she could have just held the grenade and let it go. I mean,
I'm just going to say that the infection had already spread. This is how I can allow this to happen. Yeah. The infection had already spread, and so her body was making her do that. Or the fungus in her body was making her do that. Let's just move on from that.
Outside, you see Ellie and Joel. They're watching as the building explodes.
Kills a couple of the... of the infected as they were running out the door.
Yeah, and you see, his face.
She's got another one of her faces.
He walks off. Yeah. Because it's just another loss for him, I guess. And he's already so jaded. I mean, he's just, it is what it is, right? He's just ready to move on. I'm sure he's going to cope with it in the next episode. But we lose Tess was played by a great actress, and I hope we get to see more of her in some flashbacks.
Yeah, we'll jump into final thoughts and what we're hoping to see and stuff like that. Yeah. A couple things I think, or at least one thing I feel we might have missed because you're talking about coping and stuff is there is a couple scenes where Joel's looking at his hands, like replaying like his emotional beat down of the security guard person over in quarantine. He's still kind of coming to grips with that. You see him; he always kind of gives Ellie some subtle looks throughout the show. Yeah, kind of questioning, why are we doing this kind of thing. Yeah. But anyways, so final thoughts in this episode. What did you think of this episode? I know we kind of briefly talked about it in the beginning what we thought, but now we just kind of went through the whole thing.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it?
It was again, I love the opening with Professor Ratna and her conclusion of we have to just bomb the city and just end it, because it's like a teaser of how Fedra their playbook, and I think it's the playbook. We had that discussion Wednesday briefly about what do you do in these situations, these dilemmas,
right? And
it's like, okay, there really is right now, the only solution is to burn everything, just nuke places, blow places up, and slow this infection down. So I like the fact that they introduced that. They told you a lot of backfills, like here, the reason these buildings in Boston are toppled over and look all disheveled and it's so overgrown is because they literally bombed the city to kind of slow things down. I love how the show's aesthetics are looking where, life always finds a way and everything is so overgrown, and it's just like there's no landscaping in this world, right? It's just the fungus and grass and things are just growing free will without human contact. The way Tess kind of pairs Joel and Ellie together was great. I'd like to see. I love seeing that. I love the first interaction with a walker. A great episode all the way around for me.
For the most part, I think it was a great episode.
Yeah.
I just have some execution issues that we kind of talked about a little bit. But it served its purpose as far as entertaining me for the time it was on. Great acting throughout the entire episode. And,
Is Ellie growing on you?
No. She's not growing on me yet. And obviously we got to see her. We got to see a little bit more of her and stuff. I think we could maybe break her down a little bit more on Wednesday's episode. Yeah. But it's
good call.
It's just not there yet. It's also... maybe because she's more of the unknown for me, character or actress wise, as opposed to, the other two leads.
Yeah.
The one remaining lead, the other one who's, she's no longer with us. But, I've seen them in other stuff a lot more. And I just, it's got to take a little bit more for me because it's just not there yet. I'm not saying it's not going to get there, but let's give it some more time.
Yeah, needs a little more seasoning. Huh? Yeah, a little more marinating.
I am hoping that we're going to see more Tess in some flashbacks. I'm still holding hopes that we're going to see some flashbacks of Tommy, Tess, and Joel. Yeah, kind of how they met, how they got together. That'd be great if maybe the next episode has that opening scene in it. That'd be kind of cool. Or maybe they stick with, maybe they go like country to country and kind of show like how.
Different places handled
their first encounter of the virus. That'd be kind of cool. But I mean, Patient Zero, maybe.
I still want to see that. I don't know if they'll ever give it to us.
I feel like we're not going to see that. I don't think they'll give us a definitive. Like,
maybe
this
the
is
last
Patient
episode of the last season.
Yeah,
give us that. Hopefully,
yeah. But yeah, overall, I think it was a good episode. I don't think it had the same oomph as the first episode. Yeah. The biggest thing that happened for this episode is obviously we learn what the network is.
Yeah.
We see the clickers and we see Tess sacrifice herself.
Yeah.
And her sacrifice before she sacrifices herself is her keeping Ellie and Joel together for a little bit longer to make it to the next destination.
Yeah.
And that's
for an episode after a series premiere, it was really good. I don't have too much complaints. I know we just finished watching it right before we recorded. So I'm going to love watching it again with my captions on so I can make sure I don't miss any words or things in there. And then Wednesday we'll dive even deeper into this world.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, thank you everybody for listening to this episode. Please, if you heard anything that, we got wrong, I know it was our first, kind of go through. We just watched it and,
it's not wrong. It's misremembering.
Wrong, yeah. But, if there's anything that you caught that we didn't catch that you'd like us to mention on the next episode, please, send us a message. If you're liking what you're hearing, jump on Patreon, let us know, buy us a cup of coffee, that kind of stuff, however it works.
Awesome.
Yeah. But, thanks again for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
Yeah. See you on Wednesday.
All right. Intro music composed by Kyle Torme. Outro music and bed music composed by Jason Zaffrey. Thanks for listening to this episode of The Last of Us, a Rot Your Brain podcast. Subscribe to The Last of Us podcast feed at rotyourbrainmedia.com/The Last of Us. Follow us on Twitter at rot_yourbrain and support Rot Your Brain Media and its podcast by being a part of this exciting new and growing community. Visit patreon.com/rotyourbrainmedia.